After several weeks in office with President Trump, we have seen definitive actions and much controversy. Hello, and welcome to GPI Forward. I'm Ty Reagan. Joining me, Dr. Mark Meirowitz, GPI Fellow and Professor at SUNY Maritime College.
Hi, Ty. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing
Good.
today?
I'm really happy to be here.
So, now that we have a few data points on Trump's foreign policy, what can we begin to say for sure about what he's done? And
well, one thing we're sure about, we have predictable unpredictability. We know that there are going to be things that are going to occur that we'll absolutely not be able to predict. I mean, who would have predicted, for example, the phone call to the leader in Taiwan? That caused a whole big kerfuffle. And the recent phone call with Australia's leader. These kinds of things are very hard to predict, but they're also very problematic. I think the distinction I was going to make is between the events that we see coming out of the White House and the international scenario. We haven't really seen that becoming problematic, except a little bit with Iran and the ballistic missile test.
So what's an international scenario look like in your view? Could you give us an example?
Well, as I said, on Iran, you know, there's a whole, the promise on the campaign was to dismantle the Iranian nuclear deal. Now, on the same side, on the domestic side, the promise was to dismantle Obamacare. And the question is whether you can take structures like this and just dismantle them and not have repercussions. And we're starting to see repercussions. On the Iranian side, we have the National Security Advisor saying, you know, Iran, you're on notice. Now, what does this mean? It's problematic. Is it done in order to put Iran on notice? Could it also precipitate a crisis with Iran? So the answer to your question is, as I said before, it's unpredictable, but caution is really advisable here. Caution and slow moving and not dismantling agreements, even though this current administration doesn't like them. Whether it's Obamacare or it's the Iran nuclear deal, some structures need to remain at least in place and to be revised and modified piecemeal and not completely dismantled at the same time.
So you're looking for a repeal and replace on the Iran nuclear deal.
Right.
What are some of the effects? I mean, if you can tell me, what are some of the effects when you unravel things like that so quickly? What do you tend to see?
Right. Now, first of all, the Iran deal is, you know, the United States has already paid out a large amount of money to Iran. And it's still very controversial. And at the hearings, if you would have seen them in the Congress, they were talking about these payments, how they were put on planes and cash payments and so forth. The Congress will probably revisit that. And I wanted to mention the Congress because we focus so much on the White House and the administration, but we're now going to see a shift of the locus of activity to the Congress. We see that starting up on, and that's again the linkage between foreign policy and domestic policy, on the nomination of Judge Gorsuch to be the Supreme Court nominee. We're going to see the bleeding back and forth between foreign policy and domestic policy. And again, some of the things that occur will be of the White House's, of the administration's own making. And then you're going to have external crises. We have not yet seen a full-fledged external crisis, not of the White House's making, except on Iran, where we start seeing that Iran is having ballistic tests. So that is worrisome. There's also the fact that the Russians are moving troops in Ukraine. So what's happening is we see a new administration come in. We see testing of that administration by the foreign powers. And to answer your question from before, it's hard to know how that's going to end up because we don't know what the reaction is going to be. If there's overreaction, then there could be another pushback on the other side. So again, you know, the structures that exist and the way in which this administration approaches them is very, very new. It's a new paradigm. It's a new paradigm, so accordingly we have to be very, very careful in how we try to predict and speculate for the future, although we have to be hopeful that there will be homeostasis. I know you're an engineer, so you know that means balance, right? There has to be balance, not only with the foreign powers and our friends, but also balance internally between the structures in our society, between the branches of government. Yeah. And right now, it's unclear how those branches are functioning. Yeah. If you're going to have a Senate hearing and you're going to have senators, Democratic senators, not show up, that's already a worry that the system isn't working right. Yeah. And similarly with our friends.
Yeah, as we get into this new sort of policy, foreign and domestic, it'll be really important to see how the system functions and how these kind of effects reverberate back and forth. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. For GPI Forward, I'm Ty Reagan. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.